Hello, my name's Jericles, and I'm here today to talk about 7 tips to help beginners uh, with strength training. And to me, these are the best tips for beginners. And a lot of time that affects the over 50 crowd who are just beginning and getting used to weightlifting. I These are, in fact, mostly either directly from Arnold Schwarzenegger or I sort of inferred based upon interviews and other things he's done, and based on my experience, and also way back when I actually saw him training when he was in his prime. But I was a small guy. I mean, I don't. He would never recognize me. I'm a lot bigger now, thank God. So I want to go over the 7 tips that are really especially true for beginners. And then I will sort of try to differentiate how that's different for over 50 versus under 50. So the first tip I have is when just starting and you haven't really done much training, you should really focus on strength training first. See, strength training builds the foundation, it builds the mass. And then what you need to do is, if you want to shape it, then you go into bodybuilding. And bodybuilding has a lot of techniques for shaping and building nice looking muscles. Now, the reason I say that is if you look back at Arnold and many of the other bodybuilders, especially in that time, they all started with powerlifting. They came from a powerlifting background. So this, and then they became bodybuilders. There's no money in powerlifting at all, and back then there wasn't much money in bodybuilding, but it was definitely it was more. At least it had a higher level of interest that time. So that's the first tip: is focus on strength training first, and what that means is you want to incorporate the big 3 lifts. Now you want to alternate, you don't want to do them all in one day, so you might do one in one day, one in another day, and one in the other. But the 3 big lifts are deadlift, bench, and squat. Those are the 3 big lifts. And then the other lifts that you do, because that's not the only lift, so on a day that you have your bench press, you're going to be doing a lot of other exercises, ancillary and auxiliary exercises to help with your bench. So when you do your bench, you might decide, okay, I'm going to focus on do some shoulders. Typically, when you're doing bench, you want to build your shoulders, you want to build your triceps, and you want to build your upper and lower pec. Those are the things you tend to focus on when you're trying to build a stronger bench press. So the second tip is talking about how many reps and sets should you do. Well, I think in a one workout, you should probably target 30 sets. Now, the bench should probably be 5 sets because, as you know, you probably have heard, or maybe you haven't, there's the 5x5, which Reg Park recommends, and I know Arnold is sort of a fan of, but when you're bodybuilding, you have other tools and techniques. But so you do a 5x5, which means 5 sets, 5 reps for each set. And so what you would do with bench, you sort of start with probably 40% of your weight. That's sort of the easy set, and you might want to do 8 to 10 reps to get the blood flowing. And then you do 4 more sets. So you'd go 40, 60, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 for a total of 5 sets. And that would be, when I say 50, 60, 70, 80, that's percentage of your max. If you don't know your max, then start off with half your body weight or 135 pound par, whichever seems, if the 135 doesn't seem difficult, I'll start there. Otherwise, start with half your weight. And then you sort of, based on how you felt, you do 5 reps. And if you feel like, oh, that's heavy, then maybe you stay there, or you go up 5, or you go up 10%. But if it feels real light, you go up 20%. So the increments are 20%, 10%, and 0%. So if it felt really good and I had 150 pounds on the bar, I'd add another 30 pounds. So that'd be 180. And eventually, the hope is, in the long future, you get to 2 times, you can bench press 2 times your you can bench press at least your body weight. How about that? So that's the bench. Now on the squat, it's similar. You do a 5x5 routine. There is, I think Arnold would probably say do more reps. But I think when you're starting in the beginning, I think a 5x5 is fine. So again, you're going to do a light, maybe it's a 135-pound bar, maybe it's less, maybe it's half your weight. But whatever you can easily pull up on the squat on your first set, I would use that weight, and I would do probably 8 to 10 reps again to get the blood flowing. And then you do 4 following reps of the same type of cadence. So the next one would be 50% of your max, next one 60% of your max, next one 70% of your max, and next one's 80% of your max. And again, if you don't know your max, follow the rules that you did with the bench. If it feels, start off with 135 or half your weight, and then if it feels real heavy, stay there. If it feels real light, add 20% and do 5 reps, and then see how you feel. If it still feels light, add another 20% and do 5 reps. Now, I'm only having you go to 80% max because I think I have geared this a little more to the older crowd, and if you go beyond 80% of your max, there's a little more likelihood something will be hurt. So at least in the first 8 weeks that you lift and are sort of new to weightlifting, I would not go beyond 80% of your max. So if your max is 150, then you want to go, the most you want to go is 130. So, or actually 80% of 154. So at 120. Oh, so you don't want to go 120. So, so that's the most you'd want to do. But if then there's the deadlift, and the deadlift's different. And I don't know, a lot of people have different opinions on this. But I have to tell you, especially if you're over 50, the back is a problem area. The other thing with the deadlift is the first rep is different than the other reps. The reason is the setup's sort of unique. You're starting from a standstill, and you stand up with the weight, and then when you come back to do the second rep, your form is very different usually. It's not the same. You're not you're not putting it on the floor and starting again. You're sort of cheating almost, but the problem is, I know a lot of powerlifters only do, after they warm up, they just do 1 reps. But I don't think 1 rep's going to be enough because these guys already have a lot of muscle matured. So I think what you need to do is sort of start off with a light weight, probably half your weight, or 135, whichever seems easy, and do 5 reps of that. Then what I would do is I'd add 10 to 20 pounds total. So either 5 pounds on each side or 10 pounds on each side. And I would do 4 more reps. And then I would do the same thing. If it felt light, I'd add 10 to each side. And I'd do another 3 reps. So for the deadlift, I recommend going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And 1 would be your last 80%, 85% of your max. Because that's really, you're going to save your strength. A lot of times with deadlifters, I've noticed you get really tired really fast doing a deadlift, and it's hard to conserve your strength. So that's why one of the other reasons why these powerlifters only do 1 reps, because they're conserving their strength. So I recommend for deadlifting, you just do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Make sure you have adequate rest. But you feel free if you want to do 5x5, go for it. There's not a hard and fast rule here. I'm just trying to, being concerned about your back. So you want to do 2 to 3 exercises, 3 sets each for each muscle group. So you've got in the back, you'd have the lower back, the lats, the upper back, and you have the traps. So those are the ones you do 2 to 3, so that's 8 times 3 is 24. You might want to do some sit-ups or something. So, it doesn't have to be all your 30 sets have to be on that. And so that is sort of the routine you should follow. And then the same for deadlift, the same for bench, and squat. So with bench, you got the triceps. You actually have a little biceps. You have, but powerlifters don't work much on biceps, but I think you should. So some bicep, tricep, upper pec, lower pec, and it even hits the lats, but you already hit the lats due to back day. So and shoulders. So those are the muscle groups you need to hit. Two exercises per. Again, at three reps per exercise. Now, some people might want to do 4 or 5, and that's fine. I just wouldn't exceed 30 in a given workout. But some people want to do 5 sets of a particular exercise because they really love that exercise. So that's fine. I just find that I'm able to do more if I spread it out. So if I did 5, I'd only be able to do 6 different exercises. But if I do 3, I can do 8 exercises. And there does seem to be a benefit of sharing your exercises with other muscle groups that are related. But that's for another day. So that's that idea. Clearly, the next tip is recovery. Recovery is really important. That's why I'd split it up to 3 days. I think we already talked about that. The next tip is getting enough protein, but not getting too much protein. So I recommend for under 40, you probably get 1 gram to 1 gram, probably max per 1 gram per pound is max. I know bodybuilders do 1.5, and I think even Arnold did more than that. But you can actually really hurt yourself with too much protein. And how you know you have too much protein is your urine gets really bubbly. And if it's really bubbly and it's like really foamy, that's, well, you either have an STD or you've had too much protein. Let's hope it's too much protein, but reduce the protein. So I would never go under 40 more than 1 gram. And if you're over 50, between 50 and 60, I would do 1/2 to 3/4 of a gram per pound of body weight. So I'd probably do, if you weigh 200 pounds, anywhere from 100 to 150 grams of protein. And then if you're over 60, I'd only do 1/4 to 1/2 gram per pound. So you're doing anywhere, if you're 200 pounds, you're doing 50 to 100 grams. And that's actually a good goal because a lot of the over 60 don't get enough protein, it seems like. And so that's my recommendation. But everyone's different. You might have to talk to your doctor. Okay, how about this? Go talk to your doctor because I don't get in trouble. So, but that seems to be about what I've seen out there, and it seems to jive with a lot of things I've heard, and it works for me. So that's with protein. I do want to mention that after you work out, you probably should have a whey protein. Now, there's 2 types of protein. There's slow and fast. Whey is fast. The slow is more like the curd and milk, and there's other slow proteins as well. But I would do whey protein, which is really a milk derivative, and I would get at least 20 grams after workout. You might want a few more depending, how intense that workout was. Really intense, you might want to go 30. But by taking that protein immediately, your muscles start rebuilding faster because your body is absorbing it and your body wants the protein to repair itself. Again, it's all about recovery and repairing. That's how you gain strength and muscle. So the sixth tip is use free weights. Don't use machines unless you have to, or unless unless you're disabled or it's uncomfortable. You've got to be safe and comfortable first. After you're safe and comfortable, if you have a choice between a free weight and a machine, go with the free weight. Why is that? Well, the free weights first work the stabilizer muscles, and the machines don't. So when you're lifting and benching, and you're not gonna do this. You keep it straight, and you get that from your stabilizer muscles as it comes up. Now, if you do it on the machine, you're not going to work your stabilizer muscles, so they won't get strong. The other thing about using a machine is it's a lot of leverage, and so you don't know if you're getting stronger